currently May 29th, 2024. It's 1:16 p.m. And so I'm going to start this video with what is, as you already saw, as I walked into my apartment I am simultaneously uploading video onto my Google Drive. So that's what that is right there. I'm going to just put this over to the side. The entity is monitoring. Waste management is group stalking out here. That's crossing a path while I'm in the back of my apartment. Waste management is heard in my apartment. That's called amplification of audible activity. They are in perfect alignment. They're right here. This is the green dumpster truck, the same waste management that you saw drive by 1826 Lobdell right here. And engineer light, this is already on the record. Engineer light moved all across this wooden gate, which is an impossible occurrence. Waste management is engaged in what is a sex offense right now. That's called crossing a path, and they're maintaining presence. While I'm inside of my apartment, in the depths of my apartment, I'm hearing the dumpster being emptied. That's P.O.C. That's a sex offender going by the name of waste management. That's pacing while vehicles are driving by. DHL is group stalking. The P.O.C. is underway while DHL is using a commercial means of engaging in state surveillance. The light activity on that truck is criminal facilitation. Amplification of the sound of that truck is facilitation, and that's also a sex offender. And I've also documented specifically, as I referenced, impossible light activity moving across 1826 Lobdell, which is speaking to what is, again, it's impossible to happen one time. I've captured the people of the state engaging in that pattern hundreds of times. And that's captured on video evidence. And they're doing that in a specific environment. How do you know that waste management is a group stalker and a violent sex offender, and that that's a demon acting under a commercial name? Because the light source is right over my head. All right, and that's how you know that you're subject to state surveillance, and the demon possessed are engaging in what is criminal conduct in concert. Let me be clear. Let me break this down for you practically. LAPD is relying on waste management to be present and engage in that activity creation. The state is monitoring me through that criminal activity. You are not emptying a dumpster. You're group stalking, which is state surveillance. You are in the shoes and helping a government engage in what is terrorism against an American citizen. And you do so knowingly because they engage in that activity creation with simultaneity to what I happen to be doing on my phone, including evidence about publishing onto the internet about what I'm subject to, what I'm alleging, what I'm contending, what I'm documenting, which is state surveillance. You're not coincidentally engaging in the very criminal activity that I'm alleging as I'm publishing the evidence. That's within a body of evidence, that's within a pattern of what is identifying targeting. Demons that are engaged in federal stalking as well, that's waste management. I'm going to prosecute them as a sex offender that they are. But while you see this light source over the front, this is the front of my apartment building, 1806. This is where you see the light source. This is where I'm present in my living room, 6:30, 7 o'clock, 7:30, 7:50 in the morning. This is where the alleged sunrise is occurring, and you're looking at what is 1 o'clock, 1:19 in the afternoon. The sun is never going to be present, taking, let's count together, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1. That's how you also know that waste management is a group stalker. There's no exception. This whole population, like I said on the hillside, this is ongoing surveillance while the entity flew over me 4 times in that previous video, 12:09. And then again at 12:10 in concert with Tiffany Sherez's minor children, engaging in documented state terrorism with that LAPD, the state, pacing, repeatedly flying over my apartment, flying over me while I'm in the office in a helicopter. So I want to be clear, you can't hear this inside of the depths of my apartment. And it's also speaking to what is the same exact pattern. So you're taking that template, understanding the pattern, what the demons do. You can apply it to a stalker in a helicopter, apply it to a stalker that lives next to you, apply it to a stalker that lives next to you who's going up and down the stairs, apply it to a stalker that is engaging in what is driving by outside of your bedroom window, driving out of the property at Silverview Townhomes while the entity is maintaining this level of noise conduct. And while you're still hearing it and while you're still seeing it, it's impunity. And Joan Kim is going to federal prison for that impunity that I'm documenting. Joan Kim is acting as a part of the same exact entity. The repeated stalking in the helicopter, that impunity by the state, she's going to be prosecuted for that. And she's also engaged in surveillance while she's maintaining a camera. The state, that's a communication device, and the LAPD that are stalking in helicopter, monitoring, engaging with terrorism with waste management, that's a terrorist, engaged in what is civil and criminal prosecution is what waste management is going to get. And they're keeping you under surveillance while surrounding with cameras, and that's what the people of the state, such as Iris Carnero, that's all. I want to make sure I point all that out. All right, so the reason why I captured this video right now is because what you saw earlier today, while I'm subject to a sex offense committed by waste management. Waste management is nothing other than identifying the people of the state who are engaging in that specific environment. What you'll remember as I step outside of the front of my apartment, the light source is over me as I walk into the back of my apartment. The light source is moving in real time. I'm at the back of my apartment here. And at the back of my apartment, through my bedroom window after 7 p.m., let's be clear again, let's see what's remaining present, visible through that same bedroom window. After 6 p.m., almost 7 o'clock, first of all, light all over, underneath the floor, on the ceiling. None of this is sunlight. In the same way that that's not normal audible activity, that's a demon operating a commercial vehicle, targeting, and doing so. The malicious system occurs like that, looks like that, and operates like that. And waste management's directly documented. Engaging in what is impunity, because I've documented waste management engaging in state terrorism on more than one occasion. And there is no iteration of the natural environment where waste management is driving under the sun, which is speaking to what is criminal presence, for which they have no legal defense. And it's 6:51 p.m. where I'm inside of the same address. And that light source that's over me now, while waste management is heard emptying dumpsters on the hillside, which is at a great distance from me, which is not going to disrupt your sleep. It's not going to be heard in the depths of your apartment. It's not creating some public nuisance while they do so. Regularly, it is the amplification of audible activity with real-time knowledge of what I'm documenting, in concert with that state that's heavily group stalking in helicopter, as I captured today. And so that's the prosecution of the people of the state. I'm showing you, first of all, as I walk out right now, the light source went from the back of my apartment building. All right. And it's also duration of time is also what you're witnessing. But while I go from enter the back part of my apartment building, it's over my head. As I go to the front portion, the light source moves to be directly over my head. And that front portion is also where you see the hillside at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the morning. And this backside is also where you see the sunset, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock in the evening. That's the pattern of conduct. And under no circumstances is sun ever going to manifest on above your head. And then also at the same time, down below, ricocheting off of mirrors and then bouncing underneath the bed and growing up the wall. That's all manner of demonic. It is as demonic as that terrorism that I just documented waste management engaging in. Okay. And that includes the pacing with the people of the state in the vehicles. That was demonic pacing, just like you saw Tiffany Cherez's children engaging in, repeatedly crossing path and doing so in vehicles under the light source that's over me. And all the property is covered. All of the grounds are covered in engineered light. And that demon operating that vehicle had flashing light on it. All of that is demonic. They're engaging in demonic conduct, and it's serving for state surveillance. And waste management is literally a terrorist engaging in what is group stalking with the state. So I'm capturing all that because this is prefacing what I'm capturing. It's 1:23 p.m. The light source is directly over me as I walk out of my office today, and the entity is group stalking in helicopter. And this is I captured this on more than one occasion as I'm documenting Discover, who is group stalking. This is what I was documenting inside, and the entity flies over in helicopter, which the entity engages in a pattern of. The more I document the people, the more I speak to the demon possession of these corrupt law enforcement agencies, the more I speak to the fact that Dominic Choi is indeed fired. He's awaiting an announcement that he's removed permanently from law enforcement because he is engaged in and he is facilitating, and his leadership is, in other words, he is not ignorantly the leader of a law enforcement agency that's engaged in terrorism. To the contrary, he is directly engaged in and is leading what is state terrorism as the chief of police. This is a criminal, and this is also a demon-possessed one. And I know all of that based on the pattern of conduct that the Los Angeles Police Department are literally parroting, because I've been documenting this criminal activity by the corrupt law enforcement agencies as they have been stalking me. And that stalking is identified on its face by the heavy helicopter activity and the group stalking in police vehicles, in addition to what they also use the fire departments and the ambulance personnel, but the police department specifically. And it's even more than that blatant stalking on its face, because it's not impossible to establish stalking by police departments, contrary to what the entity assumes. And in addition, it's readily identifiable as stalking by police departments because they're doing so while the environment remains around you, and that's an unnatural environment. That unnatural environment literally pursues you, and so do the corrupt law enforcement agencies pursuing you in that unnatural environment. That is recognizing group stalking. And those who are group stalking are demon possessed. And the demon possessed they are literally making up. They are these corrupt law enforcement agencies. And documentation of group stalking by departments, documentation, if I documented your badge number, if you engaged in placing hands on me, if you placed a pinky finger on me, you're going to federal prison. The entity is group stalking in helicopter, as I documented at, let's see, what time is this video captured at? 11:47. So let's get this. Maria Solis Alvarez going to federal prison, P.O.C. This is crossing path. All right, and the entity is maintaining the light source directly over my head. And I capture this. This is present. In any position to be seen through my bedroom. And so one moment, I want to make sure because there was a different, yeah, I'm documenting Discover. Just want to make sure I get that. Here is the one that I want to
monitoring documentation, flying.
They're both relevant. There's no difference. This one, it's the specific environment. The light source is over me at 11:43. I'm capturing this video. The light source is over me at 12:10.
Monitoring documentation, flying over again in relevant position. The Lyft driver is going to federal prison. He's a Latino male. You can see.
Again, that's crossing a path. The light source is directly over
the
my
light
head.
source directly over my windshield, which is directly over my head.
The light source is directly over me.
All right, I'm at the same.
Okay, and this is captured at 12:10 p.m. That's when the video starts. At 12:35 p.m. is when the video ends. I'm pointing this out. What I also want to show, because then I'm going to show you the body of evidence speaking to, again, you can pick a date, any date. There is no time ever that the natural environment consists of the sun being over the property of Alvarado Gardens. All right, and that's already shown. I'm going to let you know why I'm doing this very specialized tutorial, because that Lyft driver is going to federal prison, and I don't have to do that. But the malice with which an entity, this is the state coming out of the mouth of a demon. This is Satan, in other words, that is using this Latino male who is knowingly engaging in criminal activity and does so with a haughty spirit that is threatening your life. That's the entity that's acting through people. And that's also a demon-possessed individual who has the foolishness, okay, to engage in criminal conduct with such blazing impunity. And I'm documenting it. I'm going to prosecute the entirety of that entity with every syllable that came out of that third party's mouth. It's audible activity that the state is uttering. The people of the state are nothing other than third parties speaking on behalf of the state. In the same way, this is nothing other than a demon-possessed individual speaking on behalf of Satan. Okay, you're witnessing both. And as I'm capturing the light source that's over me, you can see it through the windshield of this third party's vehicle. And
group stalking at the workplace. Light sources over my head. Maria Solis.
I want to make sure if this is the, yes, this is the video.
And doing so, this is smart janitorial, this license plate, this is.
So the light source is over my head. This is Lyft in the Civic driving onto the property.
Is engaged in criminal facilitation. This is demonic pacing, like you saw Susanna Martinez doing.
And I want to make sure you see Satan crossing path. Engineered light is on the asphalt. That is never resulting from driving under the sun. And this is the same demon. This is the same entity that's representing the state that's keeping you under surveillance. That audible activity is legally relevant. And that threatening conduct, acting with impunity, as though you have a right. You're not picking up a customer. You're engaged in state terrorism. You're coming up and picking up another terrorist. You're criminally acting with that entity that just flew over, threatening my life in a helicopter. And then you are disregarding, as the property manager who doesn't have any consent, you certainly don't have any consent while you're group stalking me, threatening my life, and doing so in a hostile manner. Remember, the entity is threatening your life on an ongoing basis, and the malice of the people of the state, they are acting, and still to this day acting under the illusion that first of all, anyone is ignorant. Second of all, that the target individual is incapable of establishing the criminal system that you're engaging in. And thirdly, letting the whole world know that they're not just criminals that are engaged in lawlessness, but that they're demon possessed. All of this is established through the pattern of conduct. And this is engineered light that's moving on the asphalt while that Civic crosses path. Pay attention again. Let me move this off the screen. I'm sorry. I think my download is complete. This is, I'm multitasking with regard to a prosecution. So I apologize for interrupting the video, but I have to, the entity that's monitoring seeks to obstruct my ability to upload it. So I have to do everything at the same time. Nonetheless, I want you to look at this, and I'm also going to make a video that just concentrates on the light activity itself. When this demon crosses path, and you'll see the engineer light, it's a line of light that's coming toward me on the asphalt while he's crossing path. It is the same conduct you've seen Universal Waste driving by this building, and engineer light moves all across the building. It's impossible light activity. And what's occurring? The light source is directly over my head. And what else does exist already? The evidence speaking to the inability, the impossibility that that's the sun that's over my head. Also, that's even sunlight that's moving across the surface while you're looking at something as ordinary as driving a car. Okay? It's the pattern, though. It's existing amongst the population, including
third-party employees. Smart janitorial itself is engaged in criminal facilitation. This is demonic pacing, like you saw Susanna Martinez doing yesterday in the afternoon.
Okay, one more time. Just one more time, because he's going to federal prison. Okay, you can see the engineer light as it appears in the blue. I want you to see that. You can see as it moves over. The reason I'm stressing on this because you're looking at malice. This is engineer light. that's moving across the surface of the ground, the black asphalt, while this demon is targeting me. And the demon possessed want to appear and maintain a position whereby they are always asserting, I'm doing something else. I have a legitimate reason to be here. I don't know the target individual. I'm operating a business. The target individual requested my presence. I'm providing a service, or I'm the friend of the target individual. I'm the mother of the target individual. I'm the friend. I'm the boyfriend, the husband, the co-worker. Okay, this is what's being represented. And then this malice, the audible activity that comes out of this demon's mouth. Sunlight is never creating light activity that's ricocheting off of your car. Nor is that the sun that's over my head. And I'm going to show you that evidence as well. This is called crossing path. Crossing path is a criminal act. It's a federal offense. It's an act of terrorism that is done on behalf of a corrupt government that is criminally keeping an American citizen in violation of your constitutional human rights under surveillance, knowingly so, where documentation has already started. And so you know what this third party is engaging in? You know what Lyft is engaging in? Because this group stalker is asserting that you're engaged in what is business on a contractual basis on behalf of Lyft. So I'm going to prosecute Lyft. Lyft is a third party group stalker. Okay. The entity is engaging in what is providing resources, whatever resources you want to claim or utilize while you're engaged in the state system. I'll prosecute that as well. Okay, so this is speaker companies 8HKA162 cleaning while the entity is group stalking and engaged in surveillance. The same elements of monitoring underway. I'm going to prosecute that company, and their employees are going to federal prison. This is Lyft engaging in what is state surveillance, while in the same video, the entity is engaged in the hallmark of group stalking in the specific environment, and doing so in the name of Lyft. This employee of this independent contractor, however he wants to classify himself, he's a group stalker and he's going to federal prison. Terrorism via directed light is documented, and then the audible activity, which is a threat to my life while you're monitoring in concert and on behalf of that state, and doing so in my face. This is a threat while you're let me be clear, when the target individual is documenting, that speaks to knowledge, that speaks to consciousness, that speaks to awareness. That's a heightened level of a threat that you pose to that American citizen who is now documenting the fact that they're subject to state surveillance, and then you with impunity threaten them and challenge them in the name of the government. Okay, that is through corrupt law enforcement agencies engaging in surveillance. Yes, he's going to federal prison. And everything that came out of his mouth, I'm going to use against the entirety of that entity, including Lucy Santos, and her work schedule is legally irrelevant. This is why you will never want to be living at a crime scene where federal group stalking and monitoring is underway, because you have demons that are coming around acting on behalf of and in concert with Lucy Santos, who happens to be at work. She does not cease to be a part of that same entity. That's the significance of the unnatural environment and maintaining the unnatural environment via directed light. The light source is right over me. You can see it over the vehicle where I'm standing. Okay, he's going to federal prison. All right, and so this is engineered light that's moving across the ground while a demon is crossing path, and then we're going to revisit what he said. Right, engineered light just swiping across the ground, and this is a psychotic, demon-possessed third party. This is a criminal conduct maintaining presence in the path. That's what the cadetos are doing. They're going to federal prison, then they're going to be deported. The light source is over me. Remember, let's remember the time. Sorry. Let's go back. Let's remember the time where I'm capturing this video. This is captured at what is 12:10 p.m. Okay. The audible activity, which for purposes of analysis, and again, the federal imprisonment of this group stalker.
Monitoring doc. Entities flying over at 12:09 p.m. right now. He knows group stalking, but she's right here again. Group stalking.
Hold on. Oh, video.
Group stalking at the workplace. Light sources over my head. And they are.
Okay. This is at, okay, so this is the impossible light activity. I'm going to the correct video now.
For a federal judge, this impunity is going against her because they're monitoring together, and LAPD is monitoring through all of them.
1143.
Okay, 8AZE438 is also a demon.
Again, 1143, the light source is directly over my head. You can also see the light source on the vehicle, on the hood of the vehicle, the windshield. Pay attention. The light source is over me, the recognition of a demon-possessed third party and or state actor. But this is nonetheless a group stalker. You also see that by the engineered light that's swiping across the asphalt. You also know that because the entity is the state itself. It's state action, stalking in the specific environment, which is how it's identified as stalking, and doing so in a helicopter. This is state terrorism, and this is done in the name of Lyft, who is also going to be prosecuted.
Engineer light moving.
You can see the light source on the hood of the car. This is light activity. This is demonic.
P.O.C.
Okay, so what you just saw there, again, this, and this is why they're doing that in vehicles. The Caretos drive by, and this demon operating a lift vehicle, he's driving forward to reverse, got his flashers on. This is all manner of demonic pacing, and the light source is directly over my head. After that demon drove by in that vehicle, and engineer light swipes across the asphalt while he's crossing path with me. Again, this is at 11:43 in the morning. All right, so let's go back. I want to document what is harassment by this entity. Pacing, all of this is impunity. They're monitoring, engaged in ongoing vicious, just ongoing monitoring, just ruthless criminal conduct. This is the state. LAPD is acting, monitoring in concert with them.
Hi, there's no parking here.
I'm here to pick someone up. I'm not parking here.
Well, I know you're staying in the middle of the parking lot.
Okay, is there a car coming right now?
I'm the manager here, and I'm stating that there's no unlawful parking in the middle. You're obstructing the passage. So that's why I'm answering your question.
This is audible activity, and this argumentative, demeanor, all of this is serving to monitor me. So understand that whether he said good morning, happy to see you, you are so beautiful and gorgeous, can I give you a cupcake? It's audible activity, and that's a threat to your life. In addition to that, this life-threatening criminal conduct that's on behalf of the state that you see stalking in a helicopter for no legitimate purpose is also then hostile and argumentative. Okay, this is a third party that is very well likely to get out of the vehicle and physically attack you. The impunity that the people of the state act with because they are assured. Again, how does the entity also illustrate the threat? While you're documenting the people of the state, the entity engages in more terrorism, stalking you additionally ongoing in helicopters. The entity act with, again, this lawlessness as though they have some security that corrupt government that's stalking, that's bearing weapons, stalking you in police vehicles, abusing the Welfare and Institutions Code, Section 5150, engaging in what is kidnapping, and then making up information about you so that you sit kidnapped in the courthouses that are also monitoring, kidnapping you, having no jurisdiction. This is the impunity. This is that haughty. This is that false sense of arrogance, which is a threat to your life that the people of the state act with. And all of the facts are against them. That's also a threat to your life. Okay?
So if you're going to be on the grounds without any consent,
I'm here with consent because someone requested a ride.
No, you don't have consent from the manager.
I don't know. You need to talk that to the person who ordered the ride.
He's your Lyft? Oh, Lyft is engaged in harassment? Got it. And group stalking. This is Lyft engaging in group stalking and harassment.
To the light source that's over the vehicle. That's what you're going to listen. Yes, you're going to analyze the substance of the audio, but you're going to look at the evidence. Okay, this is not the sun that would be over his windshield, which is over my head, which is the pattern. You already know that this third party of 1812 number 5, she's going to federal prison. She has food delivered to her. You have someone come and pick you up for a ride. The same exact criminal conduct and the elements of monitoring are underway, and it's also ongoing facilitation amongst the state and the people and amongst the people themselves that they're monitoring together. And you're looking at the evidence in addition to analyzing the substance of that audible activity and this impunity that this entity is acting with, that life-threatening conduct, the entity that thinks that they can get out and put hands on you, assault and batter you, and that nothing is going to be of consequence. They're doing it in concert with a corrupt law enforcement agency. They summon that law enforcement agency on you. They make up information upon summoning them, and they are stalking you, arriving as though they have legitimacy under the law. Okay, that's the threat to your life and your safety. And all of it is serving for monitoring. And this is a psychopath that is coming to engage in criminal conduct. They're not interested in picking up. This is criminal activity. Understand, oh, no. I actually went to the grocery store and I actually bought something and I actually had to go to work. It does not matter what this third party is stating that Lyft actually took them to. The criminal system is maliciously underway. This is how the people of the state engage in state surveillance with the corrupt entity. This is public corruption. All right. And that audible activity is a threat to the target individual's safety and their life. Okay. And they act with this false sense of confidence you don't have, because guess what? Dominic Choi, the men and women of the Los Angeles Police Department, they don't have a prayer. Literally, because Satan can't answer your prayers, but Satan can do nothing for them in federal prison. And the federal government is going to prosecute them to the furthest extent of the law. The federal government is under no circumstances going to in any way treat this third party that they will be prosecuted to the furthest extent of the law. You are in every way breaking apart this criminal enterprise. But I want to make sure that you understand that's what poses the threat, because the government that's monitoring via the people are supposed to be in some position creating this false sense of this false sense of pride and security. No, 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 no. That's malice and impunity. This is a delusional entity. This is a psychopath that acts with, again, blatant lawlessness as though you are above the law. The only reason why you suffer from this sort of delusion is because you've been engaged in this system for a long period of time, and you're acting pursuant to what is a corrupt government that thinks that and cannot protect you, literally. And the video that I captured flying over 4 times, Discover, speaker companies, Lyft, Waste Management, I'm going to prosecute the people of the state with that. That's not helping them. It's prosecuting them. It's corroborating the evidence against them. And the Los Angeles Police Department, which represents the state, they're already prosecuted. Remember, at this joint, you're understanding at this juncture and the evidence at this juncture and with regard to what is essentially the prosecution, the P.O.C. is laying the foundation for the prosecution of the public entity. You're prosecuting the people. You're understanding what is the ability to prosecute an entire population based on what is an unmistakable and consistent pattern that where there is no exception, the ability to establish that amongst a group of people where one would ordinarily claim, oh no, I have an individual constitutional right. You cannot group together a whole bunch of people and assume that yes, you can, where you have the pattern of conduct underway, where the pattern of conduct is identified through the maintenance of an environment, which is serving for what is massive facilitation, where public corruption is underway via that population, where that population is also unilaterally establishing its criminal facilitation, its condition, which is legally relevant, demon possession, and the malice with which they are engaging in that system, not only because they're present in that environment, not only because they are not coincidentally and routinely and consistently acting in concert with that government that is stalking, but because they are demonstrating their demon possession. Engineered light is coexisting with what is supposed to be on its face appearing, oh, I'm just driving by. You can't establish that I'm stalking you because I'm operating a business and I'm picking up somebody and I don't know that person, nor do I know the target individual. I don't know nothing about the police that are stalking the target individual. This is what the people of the state are failing at alleging in federal court. All of that is established with regard to showing what is an unmistakable pattern, and it is insurmountable and irreducible evidence, speaking to what is an ongoing system, a seamless system that's underway, and it's the government's criminal system, and the people of the state are instrumental. They're crucial. The entity cannot do it without the people of the state. The people of the state are the entity, and that's why you have the light source over my head, which is not the natural environment. That's why it remains here after 7 p.m. while the entity is engaged in ongoing ceaseless, because while this demon drives off the property, the entity is maintaining presence vicariously through the people that live at the crime scene, who maintain presence around, such as waste management, around the property, and who come on to the grounds to maintain that criminal conduct, and living next door, such as Silverview townhomes. That same criminal activity is underway and facilitated, and it is identified through the unnatural environment and also that unnatural behavior. Engineer light as though sunlight is going to ever ricochet off of your car, or as though Honda is selling vehicles where light shoots off of the side of your car. They're not selling cars like that yet. All right. Yes, I'm being facetious. That is not anything that has anything to do with the natural environment or sunlight ricocheting off your car. However, that is a pattern of behavior in that unnatural environment that I have documented. Okay. And to that end, this is why he's going to federal prison.
This is Lyft engaging in group stalking and harassment as an entity. This is the state that's hostile while there's sex offenders monitoring you. And that's harassment. And that's all audible activity.
The hazard lights is light activity. The movement of the vehicle and the engineered light under the light source that's over me is light activity. And it's a threat to my life while doing so in the name of a company, which is malice. That malice that the people of the state act with is a threat to your life. The target individual is faced with the obstacle of going against a government that's using any and everyone around them and defenseless and incapable of literally not only breaking down the criminal conduct that they're subject to, which is of a demonic nature, but also the fact that they are doing so in such a malicious way. How are you going to establish that a stalker that you don't know who is engaged in operation of a business is group stalking you? If you even understand the fact that they're group stalking you, understand that malice is a threat to your life. And this false sense of confidence that's being exhibited by this demon-possessed group stalker, he's going to federal prison. That's a threat. That's the state that has a false sense of confidence while they're threatening your life and engaging in terrorism. You put that psychopath away in a cage, and they're subject to routine mental examinations.
Activity, that's Lyft, Lyft, documented group stalker. Okay, bye.
All right, so I want to make sure we go over again. What else am I speaking to? Not only is this employee, this third-party group stalker, with regard to Lyft, which is establishing the civil and criminal prosecution of that company name. This is nothing other than the malicious guise under which the people of the state are providing a malicious means for group stalking in the state of California. Doing it under the guise of a company name, you're not doing anything other than subjecting that company to civil and criminal prosecution. It's exposure to prosecution, period. And you'll be published as a group stalker. That is state terrorism is what group stalking is. You're going to be published as a group stalker, and it's going to be maintained by the Department of Justice. So that is relevant. What I captured for purposes of further highlighting to you the ongoing evidence against the entity. Where what is the LAPD doing? Oh, they're going psychotic. Don't forget, they're going psychotic in helicopter, just repeatedly flying over, repeatedly over and over and over again. Especially while I'm capturing video, 10:54, 11:43. While I'm capturing this video, documenting at 12:09. 12:09. Then they flew over again while Tiffany Cherez's minor children were pacing and engaging in demonic activity as a family. That's very disturbing, and it's very creepy when you're aware of what they're doing. This is demonic activity, and that demonic activity is being conducted by a family. And you're just ignorant about the environment and the significance of the behavior that is surrounding you. And it's not normal behavior, by the way. Nothing is normal. In other words, you're not looking at things on its surface under the superficial veil in the specific environment. It's all serving a purpose, including emptying the trash in perfect alignment, where that activity is that which is at a substantially heightened volume in that specific environment. And by the way, that activity is maintaining that specific environment, as I pointed out at the beginning of this video. Waste management, group stalking, and demonic activity. This department is engaging in what is heavy duty stalking in an environment where the light source is not possibly going to be over me. And I will use during daylight savings time, March 25th, 2022, because I wanted to show you what is substantially, I have a whole body of evidence, okay, of years of evidence of group stalking. So I can go beyond 2022, 2021, 2020. You're talking about time of year analysis, daylight savings time, which I am conforming to now just for purpose of illustrating so that the world can understand what it is that you are surrounded by and recognizing the demon possessed who are a threat to your safety and your well-being. And it's a reality. And I'm only going to leave it to what is the United States because this is where I'm at. I'm in California. Okay. But obviously the rest of the world that's witnessing, Satan is not limiting his presence and the use of people in the United States, in Southern California. And around the zip code of 90026, clearly I've documented that's not the case. All right. This is relevant to wherever you are in the world. Okay, because Satan is real, demon possession is real, demonic activity is real, and it's also serving to violate your privacy rights, whatever rights you have to under the government the government regime that you may be subject to wherever you're located. But I want to be clear, even outside, the government is not your God. Okay, Satan is real, and Satan is targeting those that are of the light. I'll say that, especially me. I serve the Lord Jesus Christ, and this is why Satan is using people to target me. But this is the criminalization. Satan doesn't get to do it here because there's a way to prosecute it, and it's the government that's at the foot of Satan who cannot help them in federal court. Okay, so this is the defeat of a public entity that is engaging in what is demonic activity, the criminalization, because group stalking is state surveillance. The government has no right to stalk you or group stalk you in concert with those that are surrounding you. And that demon possession, that demonic activity, those demonic methods employed to stalk you, which as in the shoes of a government that is maintaining presence around in the multiple ways, using police vehicles, fire departments, and ambulance personnel, EMTs that are group stalking and ambulances, and that is the most pathetic posture that you can maintain. But nonetheless, in doing so in helicopters, that's surveillance. All right, state surveillance, that's terrorism while the government is doing that. And it is, again, done on behalf of Satan himself. And so documenting the demon possession, this demon that's his verbal, audible activity is a threat to your life. Because this is the state that's talking to you. This is the state that's giving you this haughtiness while they are on the wrong side of the law. While they are under the false illusion that some corrupt government, which again, this is what the entity does. I'm prosecuting, I'm exposing, but by all means, the entity engages in kidnapping you, criminally summoning them. This is what Stephanie Ortiz did. Summoning the entity, you are the stalker, you're the criminal, summoning that criminal that's obsessively stalking me day and night as though they're learning something. As though you're doing anything wrong at that. You're documenting. You are enforcing your rights. You're a sex offender stalking somebody in a bathroom, and no one is confused by that. While the light source, an engineered light, fills the inside and is over my head at that property, you're a sex offender while you go into a bathroom. It doesn't change because you're mad that that's being exposed. That shows what is necessary. Mental examinations because you're a psychopath. You're a psychopath. Okay, and that's a population that surrounds you of that condition of that same unmerited, unwarranted hostility. That's terrorism also. So at 11:43, that video is captured. So at March 25th, 2022, at around the same time, there's a light source that's remaining over me that is not possibly the sun. And I documented that while I am, let me see, at 11:54 a.m. Here's a light source directly over me while I am at the Fontana Lewis Library.
It is.
So I'm just going to go ahead and walk outside because you're looking at the state group stalking, okay? He's going to federal prison. I've documented him on more than one time, and he's also doing so under the guise of what is helping a minor child. What controls is the specific environment. You're going to compare the crime scene here in Los Angeles with this crime scene as you are able to recognize it while you juxtapose it with what was going on in Fontana, California at or around the same time. And it's not the natural environment. It's called malice.
Here, the same demons of Fontana. This morning. By the way, that was crossing the path and meaning using a child to cross path. It's activity creation. I just want you to see what's the fate.
All right, this is the light source that's directly over my head. I start this video at 11:54 in the morning. And as I captured this video here in Los Angeles, as I'm capturing it at 11:43.
Group stalking.
11:47.
Light sources over my head.
Okay, so 11:47. This video is captured at 11:54. Okay, you're talking about a negligible difference. Daylight savings time doesn't even apply because the entity engages in what is keeping the light source over me for the duration of the day. That has nothing to do with the natural environment. Nonetheless, for purposes of teaching about what the demonic environment looks like, what federal group stalking looks like, what demonic activity and the entity that's engaging in that system, what it appears as, the crime scene where it's happening, this is what it looks like. And there's no sun that's over me in its zenith at the Fontana Lewis Library at 8437 Sierra Avenue, while it's also over my head while I'm documenting the audible activity of a hostile demon who's group stalking. All hallmarks are present. Stalking by the state in helicopter, stalking with directed light while you're driving by in a vehicle, and then you want to engage in what is harassment while you're hostile because I'm telling you that you can't park on the property. Literally, you cannot because you're obstructing while maintaining presence in the middle of the parking lot, but you're also engaged in criminal activity. All right, and that hostility, I'm going to prosecute you for that. That's a threat. That's the government that's stalking you, threatening your life, and then it's hostile while they're operating in a delusional, an alternate universe, okay? So let's look at this light source. He's going to federal prison. Okay, this is the light source that's directly over my head. There it is right there. This is the light source that's directly over my head at around the same time. I'm at Los Angeles, where the entity is keeping the light source well until after 7 p.m. This is the specific environment at the Fontana Lewis Library and the Fontana Police Department and the Los Angeles Police Department. Their criminal conduct is also speaking to the same exact entity, the same exact criminal system. And it's the malice with which the entity is engaged in that. This is state surveillance that's underway while I'm at the Fontana Lewis Library. This is state surveillance that's underway, and it's being facilitated. It's being, in other words, enabled by Lyft, by the people of the state that are living at the property. That's what she represents. But that's what the Caretos represent, crossing path. And that's what the entity is engaging in by speaker companies, Maria Solis Alvarez, while I'm subject to this criminal system. And it is identified through an unnatural environment. So this is not happening at the same time in the natural environment. Okay, the entity is maintaining this light source, and as I documented on this day, the light source remained there. Okay, as at 12:08 p.m., I'm still at the Fontana Lewis Library. There's no sun that's going to, but contrary to what I documented, as I'm walking to my apartment today, I walk outside of my apartment, and where's the light source and the entity that's flying over right now?
Monitoring documentation, flying over again in relevant position.
Where's the light source? The light source remains.
The Lyft driver's going to federal.
It's nowhere near Fontana. It remains over my head. The entity is stalking in helicopter, obsessively stalking as I'm documenting Lyft in still images. I'm capturing it. This video is starting at 12:10. I'm capturing images of documenting Lyft at 12:09. 3:09 p.m. And that's exactly what immediately as I take this picture, the LAPD is flying over, amplifying the sound of flying over because they can do so silently. The entity is communicating a threat and engaging what is the elements of monitoring also on the venue of the internet. That's the significance, and you're also recognizing targeting. They're monitoring one who is documenting that, and that's a whole other level of an enhancement to time in federal prison and the prosecution of the entire entity. And again, 1:54 p.m., the entity that's monitoring me right now, amplifying helicopter activity. And there's no sun that's over anyone in Fontana, which is what I documented on March 25th, 2022. It's remaining over LA, over my apartment in LA, very specific, even setting an alignment while I stay in this apartment well after 6 and 7 p.m. That's speaking to what the Fontana Police Department are engaging in.
Monitoring documentation, flying over again in relevant position.
Get the light source. That's,
while I'm in,
sorry.
Mail, engineer lights moving across the asphalt, and I'm going to highlight that video for you because you're looking at what is the public. They're demons. It's a state crime, and they're acting with this entity that's stalking in a helicopter. Okay, while again, at this is directly over my head. All right, I'm at the same.
This is the light source that remains over me, and this is 12:10 p.m. I remain on this day at 12:08 p.m. This is the Fontana Police Department group stalking in concert with the people.
And this is directed light right here. This is a stalker. This is the same officer. That's directed light on the side.
You know that's directed light because the light source, the so-called sun, is over me in Los Angeles. So what is this? That would be over the Fontana Lewis Library, over my head at 8437 Sierra Avenue at the same time. It's not sunlight. It's engineered light. It's the entire engineered environment. It's not the natural environment. Okay? At both addresses, I'm documenting the light source over me from morning until evening. That's not the sun. At either one of those addresses, that's not the natural environment. The sun does not stay over one address for the duration of the day. It's also not remaining over everyone, everywhere, no matter where you're at for the duration of the day. That's also not the sun. Okay, the entity is group stalking.
That's supposed to be coming from the.
This is called criminal summoning. The demon-possessed entity likes to engage in what is appearing as though they're engaged in some sort of function of their job while they're group stalking you, and you're identifying that malice and that group stalking system in the specific environment, and it is done in concert with the people and knowingly so. It's also federal stalking.
Rear windshield mirror. It's directed light. That's vehicle 33 in relevant position. Ongoing facilitation. All right. This is
monitoring with the people of the state. Crossing path. Demonic pacing.
Unlawful threat. Library. You're literally surrounded with the P.O.C. All right, engaging.
And there's the light source directly over my head while the LAPD are group stalking me in LA, and the light source is directly over my head. That's not the sun. Okay, that would be at the same time. I remain in Fontana on this day, same time of year, daylight savings time, as I document, as I walk into the back of this library. For example, at 12:59 p.m. I'm continuously documenting the light source that remains as I walk. And the Fontana Lewis Library, it's an extensive library. Okay, what's on Sierra Avenue over my head is not going to be seen over my head outside of that front entrance where the Fontana Police Department are located. In the same way, by the way, while the apartment building where I live in at 1806 North Alvarado Street is not as extensive and broad as the Fontana Lewis Library, but nonetheless, the sun that would be seen over my head at the back is not going to be directly over my head while I go to the front entrance area of my apartment. And you also know that that's not the sun because it's here rising in the morning, as I've already documented, and no one has forgotten that evidence. You're looking at what is the pattern of stalking with the light source. Wherever I move, it remains directly over me. That's how you get rising and setting at one address. It is the P.O.C.
It's 12:59 p.m.
And I'm walking to the library.
In addition to that, again.
Okay, this is the light source as I walk outside of the front of the library. So I want you to see that.
In addition to that, again, I'm just now arriving at the Fontana Lewis Library, Fontana Metrolink train station, opposite direction.
All right, this is the light source that's remaining. As I walk, that light source moves as I move. As I walk back and forth, it moves as I move.
Where I'm documenting the fake sun.
This is entirely demonic. This is how you are aware of the demon possession of those that are keeping you under surveillance. And those are demons that are stalking me very heavily, again, at 1:54 p.m. while they are witnessing me expose them, documenting them on video right now. This is not the sun that would be over me. That's remaining, by the way, in Los Angeles. And remember, I just stepped outside of my apartment. It's over my head while you're looking at waste management group stalking. It's currently 1:59 p.m. And on this day in March 2022, the light source remained over me as I continuously documented. I am at what is inside of the computer lab. This is the sunset while I remain, again, at the same intersection, Arrow and Sierra Avenue. I'm at this intersection at 9 o'clock in the morning, and the entity is group stalking with the light source directly over my head. This is the so-called sunset. Valencia and Sierra Avenue.
And this is the end of the day. And this is what I mean by, this is the right side of me. This is supposed to be the west.
And the entity is engaging in what is conduct such that the sun is setting in alignment to my bedroom window in the evening. And this is what I'm capturing while speaker companies are using under the malicious guise of speaker companies business. Oh, we've got a work order. 2043 has an overflowing toilet. We need its operation of my communication device while engineer light fills my ceiling. This is not light activity that's going to result while the sun is setting. It's also not going to result while the sun is setting at a position where you can see it at Valencia and Sierra Avenue in Fontana, California, which is the same time of year, essentially the same time. The entity is maintaining this series of what is engineer light, and this is the engineer light that the people of the state, including Lyft, and that demon operating a Lyft vehicle is driving. This is the light source that I'm still seeing through my window in the evening after 6 o'clock. It's 6:51 p.m. And then you have it directly over my head still present while I walk to my apartment. And this is at 12:43. On March 25th, 2022, there's no sun that's going to be over Alvarado Gardens. But what you are recognizing is the pattern of stalking by the state. Just like you saw the Fontana Police Department, this is what the LAPD are doing, and they're heavily stalking in helicopters as I document them.
The Lyft driver is going to federal prison. He's a Latino male. You can see the light source directly over my windshield, which is directly over my head, capturing.
It is exposing what is a matter of public corruption. And it is also speaking to what is an ongoing threat to one's life while you are subject to that. And this is, again, the hostile work environment that I am subject to while Maria Solis Alvarez's group stalking me, walking out of my office, just so that you can see. And all I do is walk out so you can see that light source that's directly over me. 12:43 and 6 seconds. All I do is walk outside and you can see she's group stalking in the workplace. She does the same thing while the entity flies directly over me, flies around the office. That's a hostile work environment. That's a threat to your life that you're subject to while you're just trying to report to work. Okay, and this is what the entity is doing on an ongoing basis, heavily group stalking in the workplace. And this is what Discover is going to be prosecuted for. They're engaged in the elements of monitoring in concert with the same elements of monitoring, and doing so, calling across state lines. Okay, that's some boldness. I'm going to prosecute them for that. You want to go out of your way to engage in terrorism that bad? You're going to pay tremendous damages for that. Damages that have not yet been contemplated under federal law. Draining the pockets for engaging in terrorism in concert with the corrupt government. Also in the workplace. Okay, it is currently 2:02 p.m. This is P.O.C.